Clint Eastwood's impressive garage showcases vehicles connected to meaningful life moments, all legendary, just like the man himself. So buckle up, as we'll be taking a tour through Clint Eastwood's legendary garage, including the one Ferrari, the only reason why he even starred in The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly film. Number 1. 1972 Gran Torino Sport. For a collection spanning well over 70 years, it's quite the task finding just the right way to kick off our tour. So how about we start with the obvious and quite possibly the most recognizable ride in Eastwood's vast collection, a 1972 Gran Torino Sport. You know, the supporting star of the 2008 movie of the same name. Yep, bet the memories have come flooding back. Supposedly right in the twilight of his very long career, Eastwood not only starred but directed this movie about a racist white guy who befriends his Asian neighbors, in this gripping story of redemption and gang rivalry. However, this absolute classic was the best supporting character in the entire movie. No offense to any of the actors, by the way. An American muscle with the classic Coke bottle styling, this beast was named Torino after the city of Turin, which was actually considered the Italian Detroit. You can thank us for the fun little tidbit later. Vibrant red paint contrasts with the black vinyl roof, while measuring around 206 inches in length. Just a mere look at this iconic coupe transports you to the early 70s, a transitional period when American muscle cars dominated whatever road it got on. Different eras, but the feel remains the same. Under this guy's hood, a 5.8-liter 351 cubic inch Cobra Jet V8, because, you know, Clint just doesn't do subtle things. This powerful hunk of metal boasts an impressive 248 horsepower and 299 pound-feet of torque, enabling a top speed of 140 miles per hour and a 0 to 60 time of 6.9 seconds. Incredible numbers for its time, nevertheless. But the 72 Gran Torino Sport is more than what lies in its hood. Designed for both performance and comfort, this beast's interior surrounds its occupants with high back bucket seats and a driver-focused dashboard. Other thoughtful details include St. Christopher medal hanging from the rearview mirror, a pretty personal touch maintained throughout ownership. And what's even more impressive is that Eastwood's production company sourced it through a classic car dealer on eBay. Now you get why this beauty was the best supporting character, right? Plus, rumor has it that the Gran Torino method acted so hard it would only start for Eastwood on set. An Oscar-worthy performance right there. But this is a whole different car for a whole different film. Want to know the Ferrari responsible for making The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly film possible? Then sit back and enjoy the ride. Pun intended. Number 2. 1932 Ford Roadster. For a garage like Eastwood's that prides itself in the best classics of the 1900s, you've got to wonder, what's the oldest ride gathering dust in Eastwood's collection? Well, wonder no more, because that distinguished honor goes to his 1932 Ford Roadster. Take a look at this masterpiece. You know what? This probably belongs in a museum rather than someone's garage. Nevertheless, the actors actually got a good reason for breaking the bank on this guy. Despite growing up in the affluent parts of California, young Clint, a really difficult image to fathom, I know, didn't study much. Instead, he preferred going to jazz clubs, hanging out with friends, and actually held down a line of short-term jobs working as a lifeguard and a golf caddy. He grew up always wanting to own a 32 Ford Roadster, but with his succession of low-paying jobs, he was never able to buy the one car he wanted, a 32 Ford Roadster. However, that wasn't the case when he became a big-shot actor. Later in life, as a reward for his hard work and being a great actor, Eastwood finally indulged in his boyhood ambition and sourced himself one for, as you'd guess, a hefty handful of dollars. That, guys, is why this vintage hot rod is sitting in his garage. Well, a car made in the 30s, it's very easy to dismiss what this guy can offer on the highway. But that's not the case. For its time, this was quite the ride. High performance, advanced engineering, and a smooth ride. 9 decades later, and this guy will still give you a comfortable ride. Getting its power from a 3.6-liter L-head V8 engine, the Ford Roadster can churn out a meager 65 horsepower, propelling it to a top speed of around 76 miles per hour. By far the slowest ride in Eastwood's collection. But by now, you should have figured out that the actor definitely didn't get this guy because he wanted to go fast. This classic also features a sliding gear 3 speeds forward, 1 reverse, manual transmission, as well as 4-wheel mechanical drum brakes. If this guy's still in the actor's garage by now, then he's definitely not letting it go anytime soon. Number 3. 1937 Lincoln K Series Convertible. For an actor like Clint Eastwood, who's probably starred in like a billion movies, a little over 60, but who's counting? You didn't possibly think that the Gran Torino Sport would be the only car he's taken from a movie set, did you? And that, folks, brings us to the second oldest classic in Eastwood's legendary garage, a 1937 Lincoln K Series convertible, the first convertible in Eastwood's collection. In the 1982 film Honky Tonk Man, Clint Eastwood plays a Depression-era country and western singer diagnosed with tuberculosis who goes on this cross-country road trip with his nephew. Not to spoil it all, but the man with no name unfortunately dies at the end of this one. Anywho, the car they used for this trip was this guy. It would be a pretty safe assumption to say Eastwood fell in love with this vintage masterpiece and decided to turn that one road trip to a lifelong journey, as he coughed up the money to take the ride after production finished. But the Lincoln K Series convertible is more than that one car used in that one movie. Often described as an era-defining vehicle by the manufacturer, it surges lightly, swiftly ahead with a touch of the accelerator. A promotional message gushed at the time. It even continues. Shifting is smoother. Springs are more flexible. Modern beauty has been achieved without the sacrifice of the dignity traditional with Lincoln. And they weren't at all wrong, you know. At its core is a 414 cubic inch L-head V12 engine churning out 150 horsepower. As you'd expect, this guy is far from the fastest, reaching a max speed of only 100 miles per hour. It's still a lot higher than the Ford Roadster. The K-Series convertible also features a 3-speed manual transmission, 4-wheel power-assisted mechanical drum brakes, and solid front and live rear axle with semi-elliptic leaf springs. All of these come together to make Eastwood's time in this guy's cockpit as relaxing and smooth as possible while he enjoys the wind in his gray hair. You know what? Enough with the 30s. How about something a little faster? Number 4. 1977 Pontiac Special Edition Trans Am. Eastwood actually continues his trend of keeping iconic cars as souvenirs from movies with this beauty. A 1977 Pontiac Special Edition Trans Am. Well, the only difference is that this time he didn't even star in or direct the film that birthed this bad boy. What you're looking at is an absolutely legendary ride, a true collector's item. Wondering why that actually is? Well, because this special edition Trans Am, as its name should have cued you in, was made specifically for a movie. A one of one, if you may. Back in 1974, Clint Eastwood starred alongside Jeff Bridges in the road drama Thunderbolt and Lightfoot. Remember it? In this film, Bridges is Thunderbolt, a drifter who steals cars with Eastwood, or Lightfoot, and together they rob banks and get into high-speed adventures. You get the idea. A pal's version of Bonnie and Clyde. Anyway, this short synopsis is actually important because the white Pontiac Trans Am 445 that's featured in this movie is Eastwood's. But the big twist is that this guy is probably no longer in his collection. Why? Because he got an even better Trans Am. That's why. The Special Edition Trans Am. This absolute beauty. Apparently, the actor fell head over heels in love with the Trans Am 445 and went on to get himself another. Only that, this time, no other person would own the same model. After one of the biggest movies of 1977, Smokey and the Bandit, Eastwood bought a Trans Am Special Edition that was basically based off the Trans Am that was featured in the film. You know what? Time for a little fun fact. You might not have known this, but Eastwood was also close pals with Burt Reynolds, one of the lead actors in the Smokey and the Bandit film. So it definitely comes as no surprise that he went out of his way to own a Trans Am mirroring the one that appeared in the movie. Plus, this is a cool looking ride, complete with a Firebird decal on the bonnet. Very easy to picture Eastwood cruising around in the sky. The Trans Am features a monstrous 400 cubic inch 6.6 liter V8 that generates up to 200 horsepower and 325 pound-feet of torque. This beast cuts through air at a top speed of 120 miles per hour. So far, only his Gran Torino Sport can go faster. This is one of the classics that's definitely never leaving the actor's collection. A collector's dream model. Number 5. 1974 Ferrari 365 GT4 Berlinetta Boxer. What's a celebrity garage with a nice little Ferrari to spice it up? For any other celebrity, we'd be talking a lot more modern Italian flair. For the daring Dirty Harry, however, you just know we're in for classic Italian flair. And that's where this 1974 Ferrari 365 GT4 Berlinetta Boxer comes in. Well, just like all of Eastwood's rides so far, there's a fun little story behind him owning this vintage Ferrari. He actually didn't get this guy out of his own free will. No. Apparently, he was persuaded by his close friend Paul Newman to purchase this beauty, marking a departure from his usual taste. And maybe we'll take a look at Newman's collection next because he actually got it spot on with the 365 GT4 Berlinetta Boxer. This iconic wedge-shaped design marked the Italian automaker's first mid-engine road car, applying advanced F1 technology to a production vehicle. Finished in Rosso Corsa, this Ferrari features an extremely rare Scaglietti Spider conversion, making it one of only 3 in the world. Yup, Eastwood owes Newman big time for this guy. When the GT4 Berlinetta Boxer flashes past you, you aren't just witnessing a rare Ferrari in its stride, you're witnessing the moment Ferrari's racing DNA forever changed the supercar landscape, creating a blueprint that competitors still follow today, 9 decades later. No surprise that Eastwood adorned it instantly, or at least most of it. He actually didn't like its roof, for whatever reason, so he had it removed in 1978. Inside Eastwood's Berlinetta Boxer, fine Italian craftsmanship meets raw performance. The driver-focused cabin includes the classic gated shifter, while its revolutionary 4.4-liter flat-12 engine produces a staggering 344 horsepower and 302 pound-feet of torque, a new record in Eastwood's collection. And you just know Ferrari delivered in terms of speed, because what you're looking at here is a max speed of 188 miles per hour. It's going to be hard topping that, especially for Eastwood's vintage collection. This beauty can also do 0 to 60 in just 5.4 seconds. Other features include a 5-speed manual transmission and direct mechanical connections that provide unfiltered feedback through responsive controls and unassisted steering. The Berlinetta Boxer is perfection. But sadly, for whatever reason, Eastwood had to part with this guy in 1985, which was a real shocker. Nevertheless, you can just bet his life was changed forever when he gripped this Ferrari's steering wheel. Number 6. 1978 Ferrari 308 GTB. Having acquired a taste for Ferrari, who wouldn't, by the way, Clint Eastwood decided to break the bank for more Italian flair. So he got this guy, a 1978 Ferrari 308 GTB, another iconic Ferrari that absolutely shaped the future of supercars. And try not mistaking this guy with the 308 GTS Tom Selleck would drive years later in his TV series Magnum P.I. Common mistake. This guy was introduced at the Paris Motor Show in 1975 and was designed by Pininfarina, just like the GT4 Berlinetta Boxer. Now, we know Eastwood has preferred Ferrari taste, if that makes any sense. As you'd expect, mirroring the Berlinetta Boxer, the 308 GTB comes with a wedge-shaped silhouette, with a low-sloping front and tapered rear to enhance aerodynamics. Plus, this was a major 70s design. Unlike the Berlinetta Boxer, however, this beauty features a steel body construction introduced in 1977 to replace earlier fiberglass, increasing weight and adding durability. To distinguish this guy from the Targa Top GTS variant, the ride features a smooth, continuous roofline without seams. And it wouldn't be a 70s classic without the pop-up headlights, retracting into the fenders for a sleek profile, a defining feature of the era. With a mere glance, you can see why Eastwood had to get this beauty. But it also goes without saying that the 308 GTB's exterior isn't the only reason why it's lauded as a 70s masterpiece. Under this beast's sleek hood is a mid-mounted 3-liter DOHC V8 engine with 4 two-throat Weber carburetors capable of roaring up to 240 horsepower. Speed-wise, the Berlinetta Boxer is still a tier above, capping off at 156 miles per hour and with a 0 to 60 time of 7.5 seconds. The 308 GTB certainly doesn't pack as much power as the Berlinetta Boxer, so it's safe to assume that he got this guy because of how sleek it looks. Plus, it's the first car that doesn't really have some bizarre story attached. Well, if nothing's changed, then this guy is still gathering dust back at the man with no name's garage. We've had 2 iconic Ferraris, but one still reigns supreme ahead of them, majorly because it might actually be more important to Hollywood than it is to Clint Eastwood himself. How great can a car be to make a man as tough as nails as Eastwood to give in? And finally, number 7. 1966 Ferrari GTB. The year is 1966, and following the success of Sergio Leone's Fistful of Dollars and For a Few Dollars More, Clint Eastwood was literally begged to appear in the last part of the Dollars trilogy, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Eastwood, in a shocking turn of events, actually declined. However, the Italian production company wasn't going to make it that easy for him. First, he got a major salary bump to star in the movie. The mule actor didn't budge. They weren't going to be deterred either. They followed that up with an offer of a share of the profits from the movie. Still, no dice. Finally, they made one last Hail Mary, a brand new Ferrari 275 GTB, an offer that Eastwood couldn't decline. And that, guys, is how The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly happened. Wondering what made this guy so special? Well, how about we fill you in? The 1966 Ferrari 275 GTB is literally one of the most celebrated touring cars in Ferrari history, perfectly balancing race-bred engineering with an elegant design. Time for a little history lesson. The 275 GTB actually succeeded the 250 GT series and marked Ferrari's transition to advanced modern engineering, including a transaxle gearbox and independent rear suspension. The 1966 model year also saw the introduction of the 275 GTB 4-cam variant, which eventually became the ultimate evolution of the 275 GTB line. This guy is also quite the head-turner. Designed by Pininfarina and built by Scaglietti, all Eastwood's Ferraris have this in common, by the way. The Actors 275 GTB featured an aggressive wider body with a prominent central bulge on the hood to accommodate the taller 4-cam engine. Quite the sight when this guy zooms past you, believe me. Now, for what really gets this beast ticking. At its core is a 328cc naturally aspirated SOHC 3.3-liter Colombo V12 engine unleashing up to 280 horsepower at 7,600 RPM. The 275 GTB can clock an impressive top speed of 160 miles per hour, a jaw-dropping feat even all these decades later. And it takes no time to take flight, too, going from 0 to 60 in 5.5 seconds. Originally painted gunmetal gray, the Italian classic would eventually be taken by Eastwood to the custom King George Barris for a makeover. It was then stripped and repainted in a rich light metallic green and finished with an essential 1970s accessory, a CB radio. Different times. Well, even with how much he loved this guy and all the modifications, he still didn't keep it. Pretty sad stuff because the 275 GTB is now worth upwards of 7 figures and could have been Eastwood's $1 million baby. But he probably doesn't mind. 7 iconic classics later, and we've reached the end of another legendary garage tour, probably our most iconic ever. Clint Eastwood's car collection isn't all nostalgia, metal, and grease. No, it's a scrapbook, a life story told through chrome and steel. One that we're definitely not forgetting anytime soon.